IT expert.
That's why I'm at my daughter-in-law's house.
Oh, you did well then.
Yes.
You did really well. Well, it also gives you a chance to hang out with the grandbabies.
That's right.
Listen, that's how I see it. Oh, yes. And we are there we go. Listen, let's not wait. Let's not wait for this thing. Let's get it started. And we are back. Here I am, Fly Navarro with the No BS World Tour, coming at you with our springtime edition. I'm sitting here with Peter Trabanzai from the Billfish Foundation. Also, Mr. Johnny Dorland from the OBBC, the Orange Beach Billfish Classic. Good morning, Mr. Johnny. How are you today, sir?
Good morning, Fly. It's always good to see you and talk to you, and Peter, and looking forward to our visit this morning.
Absolutely. Peter, are you recovered from the craziness of the Bahamas last week?
It wasn't crazy. It was a lot of fun, some really good fishing. Met a lot of really great boats. Put on another great tournament, Fly.
I'm glad you had a good time. I try to make sure it's the 4 longest days of the year for you. And I think I do a pretty good job. Now, Mr. Johnny, I got a couple of questions before we continue forward. I see a slew of Billfish bills behind you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the story behind that?
Well, my son, Travis, actually restores bills. And he's been doing it for 5 or 6 years. He actually takes the real bill and does it. Well, grab one here. Let's see. This bill is, you can see it there. It's pretty nice the way he does them. Puts a plaque on the bottom of them. This bill was actually called the 512-pound blue marlin, called aboard the CE angler with Scott Cooper.
Nice.
Another board member. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
So when he does these bills, for people that don't understand, it's a time-consuming process between drying it out and getting it ready and all the so on.
Well, he actually, I'm not going to tell you his whole process because it's really super secret, you know.
Shh, we won't tell any. Listen, nobody's listening anyway.
Be real quiet about it. You know, I had to suffer through a little bit of it because he stores them on my pier in the water. Seems like where the tide, it seems like they will eat out the meat and everything out of it over there. And when he pulls them out of the water, my neighbors are not happy. So
I take it that you have a bunch of crabs near your dock.
I think there's a lot of microorganisms around my dock. But 6 knots of current backing in there is pretty interesting too. So
I could only imagine.
Yeah. So anyway, he does. They've been doing it. He does swordfish bills too. So he's of course, last year there was as you well know, across the whole U.S. there was a incredible amount of blue marlin harvested. It was an outstanding fishery, the East Coast to the Gulf Coast, and it's like any business you're in. If some years when the fishing is good, he stays busy, and it's a very nice thing for people to put in their house. You know, people quit mounting the whole fish. They do prints now and bills and stuff like that. So it's he's been enjoying doing it, and I think it's been a good service to the community. People get to have something to put in their house and display that's very nice.
No, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I see them stacked up behind you, and I know Travis does a really good job with that. Now let's get to the nut and bolts of it. We're getting ready to start up the Gulf fishing season, and your tournament, the Orange Beach Billfish Classic, is the first one. It's kind of holy moly, somebody's calling. I don't know if that's Peter or if that's Johnny.
That's me. It's a spam call from Canada.
Listen, there's a lot of things I can say, but I'm not going to.
Warranty. They want to give you a warranty on your car, Peter.
I'm sure it's an extended warranty call for my car. Exactly, Johnny.
Listen, I get call warranties from my first car, 1984 Ford Ranger. Still, would you like to extend that? And I'm like, man, I haven't had that in 30, 40 years. So, Johnny, how long has the Orange Beach Billfish Classic Championship been going on?
Well, actually, we're celebrating our 25th year this year, Fly.
So, wow.
Yeah.
This is
We did count the oil spill year in our years, so I guess we actually had it for 24 because the oil spill year we did not have it. But an interesting tidbit, of course, everybody was losing tournaments and stuff, and BP was supplying them with their lost revenue. So when we got our revenue, we sent it straight onto the Billfish Foundation. So we didn't have to stop donating just because of the oil spill. So it did work.
So correct me if I'm wrong. All the profits that you guys make from the tournament go straight to the Billfish Foundation.
That is correct. Yes.
Peter, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have been, we can't say thank you enough to Johnny and his family, the organizers, to have us be the lone beneficiary or the main beneficiary of the OBBC for years. We were looking back over the history, and it's a lot of money, and we cannot tell you how much we're thankful for their support. And with that support, we've been able to do a lot of things, specifically for the Gulf of Mexico and the sport fishing world. I'm not going to list every single accomplishment, but it's a lot. But it ranges from an allocation for bluefin tuna. We never had that as a sport fishing community, and we really helped secure that for the recreational fishing community to actually have a quota for that. The continuing to make sure there's closed zones and time area closures for the Gulf of Mexico for long fishing, and a whole host of other things that we can get into later. But all of that support from the tournament helps us not only let us do our job by providing and continuing to conserve those billfish populations, but at the same time, giving access to the sport that obviously helps support many, many people, not only in the Gulf of Mexico, but abroad. So
let's, speaking of the tuna quota, there was a new state record brought into the Gulf of Mexico 2 days ago.
I did see that. I think it was out of Texas. Is that correct?
It was out of Texas. And I believe, if I'm correct, it was 846 or 876.
I think it was 850, 857, or it was something. It was large.
It was a large fish. And correct me if I'm wrong. And Johnny, you may know this better than me. This is 2 years in a row that they've showed up in Texas first instead of Louisiana. Usually they show up somewhere around Louisiana and off of Mississippi. The last couple of years, last year and this year, they showed up in Texas and Port Aransas first.
Well, Fly, historically, nobody's been fishing out there this time of year for much of anything at all. And I think with the pandemic going on last year, we hit the quota before the tournament season ever started. And we pushed for this incidental catch of bluefin tuna in the Gulf because people were fishing in tournaments and fishing for blue marlin or tuna or dolphin or wahoo, and would catch a bluefin and they would have to release it. I mean, you're catching a fish of a lifetime. I mean, people who have caught giant bluefin tuna, it's very, unless you're going and target them in the Northeast where they do have it for a sport, and most of those fish are released, all of them are released recreationally. You don't have an opportunity to bring that fish to the dock or to enjoy the meat off of it. You're having to release the fish, whether it was alive or dead or whatever. You could not bring it in legally. So this has enabled us to be able to have this classified as a trophy fish and brought in. And I'm just going to be straight honest with you, Fly. We did this, or Ellen got this done with the Billfish Foundation because we were not able to keep these fish, and they got us a quota. And I don't want to see people go out there and target these fish. I think it's an incidental catch is what it is.
That's correct.
I get a little concerned, and I'm just on the conservation side, and I'm not trying to be a purist or anything like that. I'm just trying to say that I think it's the intent of it is for incidental catch and not for somebody to target them.
That's a very good point. Wait a second. That official number just came in from Jeffrey Wilson on the Tighten Up, and it was 876.
That's outstanding. What a heck of a fish.
76, which is truly a nice fish. anywhere. But especially once in the Gulf of Mexico, it's great to see that. So now, Mr. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, what I was saying is that I'm kind of expecting just like what Johnny was saying, and I think you were kind of foreshadowing to as well, Flies, with the bluefin, incidental catch, this one being one of the first reported of this size. I'm expecting it'll probably close around tournament time again, like it did in the past couple years, just because this isn't the first time I think you were the one that told me, Fly, that you saw or you heard that someone in the Keys had recently seen.
Oh, no. Well, right? I'll tell you what, the last 3 years in the Keys, it's actually been more predictable than the old bluefins off of Bimini when they're going back up. So I know, and it can segue into some of the questions I'm going to ask Johnny. I know my former captain, I can't even say former captain, my captain, Eddie, he had some show up while he was kite fishing, ate 2 of his kite baits and very quickly emptied his 20s. But every year, the last 3 years off the Keys, you can see him pushing through into the Gulf of Mexico to spawn. And I know Alex Adler on the Kalex this year is 2 for 3. He's caught 2 where he sees them on the sand or right off the reef, moving into the Gulf of Mexico, and he gets a chance to bait them and catch them. And I know I've talked to several guys last year that some days they saw more bluefins than they saw sailfish. And I don't mean they saw 2 bluefins and no sailfish. I'm talking about they might have seen 12 sailfish and they saw 15 to 20 bluefins. So it's nice to see this migratory pattern where they're pushing into the Gulf to spawn. And like you guys said, that there's an incidental quota for them because it's incidental. I mean, Alex Adler, he went out, he caught him, but he released him just the same. It wasn't to harvest. It was just to catch him and let him go.
I will also, not to keep on harping on this bluefin stuff, even though it's super exciting. I think we could all talk about it for hours.
Why are we going to stop it there? Let's talk about it.
Hold on. But okay, so one of the things I would say is that if one of the anglers does happen to decide to catch and release it like Alex did, we would ask that if they do catch it and they do have a TBF tag, we don't normally encourage this at all, but we'd love to get those bluefin tagged. Reason being is for some of our followers on Facebook and on social media, we've actually shown a number of them go transatlantic, as well as we'd like to further that by having some of them tagged within the Gulf of Mexico as well. Obviously, that's if you have the tags and you have the tagging equipment, we'd love to see some of that stuff so we could relay that stuff to our scientists as well. So just as a little augment there. Most of the time, like I said, 99.99% of the time, we only ask people to tag billfish. But when it comes to bluefin, there's a special little part of my heart that wants to get them tagged as well, so our scientists can take a look at it as well.
Now, Mr. Johnny, I'm going to circle back around to what I mentioned earlier about Captain Eddie. I was first introduced to you through Captain Eddie. Captain Eddie was my captain on the Real Tight for 14 years, but you've known Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong, if it wasn't in the 70s.
Yeah, that's about right. When he was first time I met Eddie, he was on the Bootlegger, and one of Eddie's good friends. In fact, Eddie and I were in a wedding together with Eric Swanson, got married years ago, and I think I shared that picture with you one time. Pretty good back when we were young.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I want you to know that was quickly forwarded to Captain Eddie and say, hey, look what I found here.
Lady killers, huh? Time. Bunch of lady killers.
Well, I don't know about that.
Listen, you don't know Captain
Eddie. I'm not telling anything. We were just there. We watched a lot of people do a lot better work than we did there. But we did like to dissipate. Let's put it that way.
Listen, I'll tell you what, I had 14 great years with Eddie. We caught a lot of fish together. We traveled a lot of ocean together. And it's so funny because you guys both know Miles Colley, and I saw Miles over the weekend. We both saw Miles over the weekend at Chubb, and he was there talking with Tyler, and he's like, Fly, you remember Tyler, my mate? I says, no, I remember Tyler. I says, it's good. I mean, this is your coaching tree. This is the kids that, and I say kids, Tyler's a grown man now, but these are the kids that you've taught how to fish and take care of boats. And I know I try to talk to Eddie at least once a week, if not twice a week. If nothing else, you know, I spent a long time with Eddie and he taught me a lot. So it's really, as you go through all these years, you have a lot of mentors that helped you, and you have a lot of mentees that you helped bring up. I know over in Chubb, I saw one of my mentees. I remember when he was 14, he's now 35 years old. So makes me feel old, but it's good to see him doing good. We used to somehow finagle him to chamois the reel tight. We'd come in and he'd ask us about, oh, you guys have been gone for 2 years. What was it like? What was this? Listen, we're working. If you want to talk, grab a chamois. Okay. So
That's
don't
right.
just stand there and talk. Come over here and work, and I'll talk all day long. That ain't a problem. So, Mr. Johnny, tell us a little bit about what got you started in bill fishing in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh man, I think I was 11 or 12 years old. My dad chartered a boat out of Orange Beach, probably 66, 67. And first day out, we caught a sailfish. Sailfish came up, got behind the bait, knocked it out. Just it was one of those textbook things. Followed it, knocked it out with the bill, dropped the line back, hooked the fish, caught it. I was done. That was it. You know, fish come up, you know, it's just like cobia fishing. You know, our cobia fishing has gone a little bit south here, up here in the northern Gulf the last 10 years. And maybe the good Lord's saving them this year because there's only been about 3 days of fishing since the middle of March. The weather's been so bad. But anytime you can sight fish for something or rig a bait and fool a fish into biting it and catching it, it's just like hunting in the water. So it gets in your blood. And once it gets in there, it's damn hard to get it out, Fly.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir here, Mrs. Johnny.
Yeah. You know, I mean, as far as catching them myself, I hadn't caught a fish in years, but I'd rather take a child out there, a young person that's never caught a fish, watch their eyes light up, and that to me is get all the satisfaction in the world out of it. Catch that fish and release it, and let it swim again. And don't get me wrong, I love to harvest them too. If I get one big enough and I can bring it and weigh it in, we've got that right, and we fought for those rights to keep them.
Yes, sir.
And we want to continue to have those rights. So, you know, that's part of fishing is harvesting the fish, but it's also, you know, there's a lot of fish released in the Gulf of Mexico, and the technology up here now, and these guys are damn good at it. The live baiting, you know, some people will debate it's hurting the fish, it's helping the fish. You know, what's helped the fish is the conservation and the Billfish Foundation and other organizations in the Gulf supporting recreational fishermen to release. I mean, Fly, I can tell you one time in Destin in the late 70s, when it was a point a pound for fish at the old Marlboro tournament there was 189 billfish killed in 3 days.
Wow.
Which was a tragedy.
That is a tragedy.
So we all, and the guys my age and older that grew up in Destin, I was fortunate enough to be friends with a lot of people down there. Orange Beach and Destin was always a great rivalry of fishermen. And, you know, just like any rivalry of fishermen, when alcohol gets involved, sometimes some fish got defined. So
listen, fishermen.
No place in Orange Beach called the Gulf Gate Lodge. And I'm sure some older folks are listening on here. It's been closed for 30, 40 years, but there was all of our tournaments back in those days, you left at 5 in the morning, you came back at 5 in the afternoon. And we weren't running but 25 to 40 miles offshore. And there was only bar and only a restaurant in town. So you got back in, everybody was there. And if somebody got in somebody's way offshore, you usually heard about it that night. About it.
Now let's and you bring up a very valid point about fishing from 5 to 5. That's changed over the years. The tournaments in the Gulf of Mexico are run a little bit different as far as lines in and lines out. Would you mind elaborating on that for people not familiar with how the tournaments are run out of the Gulf of Mexico?
Well, my old friend Eric Swinson, I'll get started with him first. He told me he was coming up to the Gulf to fish and want to know what was going on up there. It's been right when all this marathon started. I said, well, Eddie, Eric, we're going to leave the dock at about noon on Thursday. We're going to come back Saturday at dark. He goes, the whole time? I said, he said, what do you do at night? I said, you fish or catch bait all night? I said, all night. He goes, I don't think I'm going to bring my boat up there. I said, I don't blame you. So nowadays we leave at about 10 to 11 o'clock on a Thursday morning, and you start fishing at 10 or 11 o'clock on Thursday morning, and you can fish until you got to be back in, which is usually from 5 to 7 on Saturday.
Okay.
So with that being said, some of these boats now will load up. What's a 72 Viking hold? How much fuel do they hold? They hold
a lot.
A lot. And then when you got another 1,000 or 2,000 gallons of fuel and bladders on the boat, they going somewhere, buddy.
A lot of these boats, they're going 200-300 miles one way.
One way. You're correct.
One way.
One way.
And I know, and I don't want to put anybody's name out here without their permission, but I know boats that they build their Vikings without seakeepers just to have the extra 700 gallons of fuel.
I'm going to tell you something, Flag. Remember this. Seakeepers are like air conditioning. They're here to stay.
Oh, listen, to me, you do not have to tell me. I know, especially in your marathon fishing where you guys are spending the nights out at sea, that's a game changer. And I'll tell you what, I've been on a couple of boats with seakeepers, and they make the best difference at the dock. Some of these places that you tie up in the Bahamas or in Bermuda where there's a lot of weight going by, the boats will rock at night, and suddenly you put them seakeepers on, and it's a huge, huge game changer. And your boat, and we're talking about, I believe yours was built in the 80s.
No, my boat's a 1978 enclosed bridge 60 Hatteras.
That almost as old as I am. Son of a. It's older than Peter. It's older than Peter.
Definitely older than me.
It's had more facelifts than you have had too, Fly.
Listen, I haven't had a facelift yet. This is what the good Lord. This is what the good Lord gave me, and this is what I'm. Hey, Johnny, I'm going to tell you, I am the king of trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. All right, and this face is number one. I got a face for radio.
As I said to you last week, my friend.
Before we go on, I just have to, and we got a lot of comments coming in, but the one comment, if he's still listening, I have to give him a shout out because he did listen to the comments. Captain Eddie is watching from Chub Key, Bahamas right now. So a big shout out, Eddie. Big shout out to Captain Eddie. He's sitting there waiting for Jim Carr to show up. And we missed him by a couple of days. Yeah, we just missed him. If I would have known, I would have stayed. No, I was ready to come home. I had work. I had work to do. So, but I had to give him a little shout out there. Now, Mr. Johnny, like you said, you went fishing with your father to start out your career in the Gulf of Mexico, but you have made this a complete family affair because not only your sons, but now you have grandbabies. And have you taken them out to the canyons and to the oil rigs yet?
Well, one of my grandbabies spent a month with us down in the Bahamas. We went to the Exumas and Chubb and all through there. Oh, she's a trooper. She loves it. She, it's like a friend of mine from Destin was with us, and I know a lot of people know Tim Hanna. And Tim says we were down in, I think we were at Green Turtle, and he says, no, we ought to ease out front and go fishing today. I says, buddy, you got a 40-pound person over there that's running this whole operation. And if she wants to go, we're going to get to go. If you can find some place for her to go today, we can go fishing. But we got a problem.
She's in charge.
Well, not that she's in charge, but the whole world revolves around what they want to do, not what you want to do, Fly. It's life.
Well, that's probably why I don't have children, because, you know, it's just my world and we're all just in it.
Remember one thing, once you have them, they never leave.
Well, listen, that's how Peter feels about me. So,
I mean, you said it, Fly, not me.
Listen, I enjoy the fact that I'm Uncle Fly to the world. I love children, but I also love to be able to travel, and I have friends that have children everywhere. And again, for me, it's getting the opportunity to introduce them to our sport. That's the big thing for me. That's the big thing for me.
But that's about the only time I will tell you. A good friend of mine, Ralph Hollywell, runs Middleton Marine in Orange Beach, and does a lot of work for me. I've known Ralph forever. Took his little girls fishing, and there was a few white marlin and sailfish out. It's been a couple of years ago. But, Ralph says, well, how's she go hook it? I says, you ain't got to worry about it. I got a special lure for her. Some of the old boys a long time ago remember some of these lures. They used to call them a mop. So anyway, we were out there fishing, just play fishing. They had all the lures out there, and right there beside. I just happened to walk outside, and the boy told me, he says, sailfish on the left teaser. I grabbed that spinning reel, that mop, and I flew it out there, and that fish snuck up behind it, stuck his bill in there, and I said, here you go, honey, just hold on, don't tighten the drag.
I'll tell you what, a chamois mop or any kind of mop, again, it's why it's illegal to use in tournaments.
That's correct.
But yes,
they make rules for people like you, Fly, entangling devices, you know.
Listen, and you know, rules are just made to be broken.
Hey, settle down there.
No. Listen, there's a reason for rules, and that's to keep an equal playing field. Right. And that's what we try to do. But yeah, it's definitely, okay. So I have to, I got to jump in on this, because I was going to say something. Now we have a comment, from Chris Rebel that we just spent the weekend with. I really didn't want to call you out, but now we're really going to call you out. Mr. Johnny has a beautiful backdrop. I have a little beautiful backdrop. And Peter.
Yeah, I don't have a seating area like you gents. I have to go literally.
Hold on a second. You look like you're having a mug shot, man. That's
this is actually a perfect place for me to take my passport picture. You know, the plain white background and everything.
So I think
it's in the game plan to get something there. I haven't been able to secure anything that I like so far.
Mr. Johnny, I think he needs a big sign that says OBBC on it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I think there's no doubt. You know, to Peter's defense, they're taking all that money and help spending on conservation, not with dressing their office up or anything. You know? But all he does, he seemed like he could come up with at least one souvenir to put behind.
All we need is one souvenir.
Right.
That's it. Listen to anybody.
Listen, the next time we're on here, I will hopefully have something up.
I'll tell you what.
That. How about that?
I'm going to put it out here on the airwaves to anybody that's watching that would like to offer Peter a nice backdrop. Let us know. Send it to the Billfish Foundation, P.O. Box, whatever it is. We'll get it up there. Poor Peter. Actually, last time we talked, you were in front of a very nice piece of artwork that your sister gave you.
That's very true. I just didn't want to take up too much space since my wife is working here too, so that's why.
Well, listen, Mr. Johnny made a good point that fishing is a family affair. You should bring your wife in on the podcast to talk about her first billfish she's ever caught.
She's actually never caught one.
Mr. Johnny, that is a bad problem.
Well, I mean, go ahead, continue.
All I know is I let him right into it, and he walked into that trap. I knew his wife had never caught one.
It's all good. It's all good. I cannot tell a lie.
So, Mr. Johnny, I know last year with the craziness of 2020, a lot of tournaments took, I don't even want to say a beating. They took where we had to change a lot of things. But now with 2021, what do you have in store for this year's tournament? And we're coming down to the wire. Tournaments in less than a month.
Right. Well, Fly, we're going to be back to our format before the COVID. Last year we definitely changed our format, the way we did it, with having get-togethers, and being one of the first tournaments of the year. People that hadn't seen each other all year love to get there, the camaraderie and how we do it. And we put this on as a family deal. So I mean, we treat this thing. This is a fundraiser for the Billfish Foundation, so we treat it like it's a fundraiser. So we have our parties are like a wedding reception. I mean, it's damn good, and people enjoy it, and we want to make it friendly. Now, stepping back, we spend a lot of money doing that. Some people don't spend money on parties or food, but we think it's very important to treat our people special that come there. And our sponsors, and we've got a whole list of sponsors, and they're on our website and our magazines. They enable us to put this thing on first class and to be able to donate this money to the Billfish Foundation. Now, the ladies, my daughter-in-law and wife that put this on, they work hard to get it done and spend a lot of time year-round doing it. But without the sponsors, and we got a bunch of them that come to the table and are super with supporting us because of where our money goes. They know our money is going to the Billfish Foundation, and they know how important it is to their business for recreational fishing, from the tackle people to the electronics folks, engine people, boat sales. So we are just super fortunate for the people that support us and enable us to do this. That's how we give back, Fly. It's mainly just because that's a lot of work, but it's because of our sponsors paying for this tournament for us to be able to do that.
And I'll tell you what, it's definitely a first-class event. What you guys do is very, very impressive. First-class food, first-class party. And for anybody that wants to see all the list of sponsors, I just put up a link in the comment section on Facebook Live, so you guys can see exactly what all the sponsors and all the pictures of past events and stuff online.
I also want to kind of jump in there too. Johnny hits the nail on the head. Obviously, I'm a little biased, and the foundation is, in regards to what the OBBC has been able to contribute and been such a long time supporter of TBF. But what Johnny mentioned before, and what you mentioned, I think earlier, Fly, as well, is all of these outside industries that are affected. When a tournament happens, like the OBBC, how many boats are coming in? How many people are spending money? Flying in, bringing their boats in, spending time with gas. I think a lot of times when you speak to people outside of the industry, and even sometimes in the industry, they always forget. Yeah, obviously the fishing industry is. You look at the tackle, you look at the marinas, you look at all that stuff, but you've got to look at the indirect impacts of those boats coming in for that weekend. So that's always something that we always try to mention is a big factor when these tournaments are taking place. The amount of local impact and regional impact that they have for the community themselves too.
You're starting to sound like an article I just read.
I wonder why.
Hey man, listen, that's copyrighted. You got to give a footnote. I
mean, didn't I give you those quotes?
No. You didn't give me those quotes. I came up with those quotes. All you said was, make sure you give back to the Billfish Foundation.
Oh my God. Well, that too. That's obviously very important. But one thing I do want to mention too, we have a whole list of things that how the OBBC has really contributed to the benefit of sport fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't want to read them all off. It's a lot, but what I can do, and if you guys are open to it, Fly, what I could do is I could send it to you to just, for the followers to see, whether it's, like I said, bluefin tuna closed zones, this whole climate change mitigation that's happening with the 30 for 30, talking about aquaculture in the Gulf of Mexico, the shark problems that we're seeing, research that's happened there, how we fought against the Endangered Species Act, the 2 satellite tagging expeditions we had there, the institution of circle hooks, having workshops back in the day when it was first being implemented, looking at some of the other workshops we've had there, bycatch analysis of what we've been seeing from longliners, as well as us taking part in HMS, right? Obviously, you're a part of it, have been for the past 6 years. And more importantly, or just as important, is looking at the stock assessments within the area. But there's literally a whole list of different things. I can get into every single one if you'd like to, but we don't have the time to do that. But the contributions by anglers, and specifically by the OBBC and those in the Gulf of Mexico, for those looking at the Gulf of Mexico specific, have been essential for conservation, not only of the species, but the promotion and the preservation of what exactly you and Johnny were just talking about, which is to make sure that generations of anglers and the community can not only survive but thrive. So we cannot say enough about OBBC's contributions. Everyone that participates, we cannot thank you enough for that. But literally, just one after the other, there's so many things that the OBBC's contributions have helped us out with.
Yeah, but the one thing I always remember is how good the food is. I always remember how good the food is. Mr. Johnny
It's always
knows
the parties. Yeah.
He knows how to throw a party, man.
Right.
And being that it's the first tournament of the year, like he said earlier, it gives everybody the opportunity to see each other after the whole winter. First time everybody comes together for the first event, and it's a lot of fun. And a lot of all the times I've been there, it's all the other tournament directors. They come along, they come together, they get to see each other for the first time of the year, have a good time, eat good food. I keep mentioning the food because it's phenomenal. I'm telling you,
are you coming up this year, Fly?
I am as at the present time, I am planning on it. Yes.
Great.
At the present time, I am planning on it.
We'd love to have you, and you're correct. The tournament, all the other tournament guys come there and support us, and listen. In the Northern Gulf, all of us try to work together to help each other in tournaments and support each other. It's not like we're in a competition. There's a tournament every weekend from New England all the way to Texas, just about some type of tournament every weekend. There's a lot of them, but there's a lot of boaters out there now enjoying the sport, and you're not going to be able to fish all of them. So they come, and we certainly want them to support us. And it's going, what we're doing is a good cause, and it is supporting the industry, and we encourage other tournaments to earmark some money for conservation. Some do support it, some don't support it. And of course, that's your prerogative to do it, but I certainly encourage them and get behind the ones that do support what we're doing. We've got to fight for what we're getting and keeping every year. You just don't win a battle one year. And I'm not against commercial fishing by any means. Those people, I'm in agriculture, and I'm farming. There's nothing different than people farming to see. People are looking for fish, and their lobbyists on their side have got a lot of money, and they spend a lot of money to protect their quotas. So, we all know the story, how much money recreational fishing puts into the economy compared to commercial fishing. And listen, I got a lot of good friends that are commercial fishermen, and they're good people, and they work hard, and they have a right to go harvest just like we do. But it working together to keep this fishery sustainable is what it's about for future generations. And the Billfish Foundation is what I've seen is the best organization we have working for the recreational side.
That's very, very true. That is very true. They do a lot of good things, and they continue to do good things. And it's anywhere where there's recreational bill fishing whether it's in the Gulf of Mexico or the Straits of Florida or up and down the coast. The Billfish Foundation always seems to have us represented where we need to be represented.
Right. I mean, look at the sword fishery. The sword fishery is open to commercial people as well as recreation. But by closing zones where they knew the fish were breeding or the smaller fish lived and were raised, by doing that, look what it's done for that sport.
It's amazing.
It is, but you got to still fight to keep it there. It's not something you just do and it stays there because somebody's trying to open, somebody's trying to close. So we take the science that we're getting, and I say science because that's what TBF was all based on, was science. They're not here to lobby politically, but we've got to do that nowadays. The atmosphere has changed. So with that, it takes money. And, and I'm not trying to be facetious or anything, but, you look at guys, some of these guys in these boats, a bottle of wine that they're drinking, if they could donate just one bottle of wine, would it cost them $1,000 for a bottle of wine to the Billfish Foundation? Every trip they went, good Lord of mercy, how much money would that raise?
Are you suggesting that Peter should take up drinking wine?
I'm taking that Peter should take up getting wine bottles and selling them and donating his money to Billfish.
Now we're talking. He's got a new business idea.
Yeah.
Listen, Johnny, I would love to do that. I'd be all down. Although I'm not sure how much Ellen would allow me to take that wine without her having a sip of it first. So, depending on what the wine is.
No comment. Look,
I hope Ellen's not listening because we only get her 40 proof vodka when she comes up.
I saw the look on Mr. Johnny's face.
I do want to ask really quickly because I think I saw someone ask before on the comments. They were asking Johnny, when and where is the tournament, and if it is too late, or if it is too late to sign up?
No, it is not too late to sign up. It's the 17th through the 21st of May, 2021. So yes, I think right now we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 boats registered. We're going to take 55 to 60 is all we're going to take. We had a bad hurricane last year in this area, so we are limited a little bit on dockage, but we're going to make arrangements for people if they can stay other places and just come to our pass the morning that we're going to leave, close by, because everybody's going to have to leave from Orange Beach, come back into Orange Beach. But we certainly know the struggles people are having with marinas here. Some of them have not been rebuilt. Some of them are in the process of still being torn down. So we are a little bit limited on that, but we will make arrangements and help everybody get here and where they can fish it. And we're going to, that's a little, last year it was the COVID. We changed our format a little bit for that part. And this year it's due to the hurricane, but if somebody wants to come, they just give me a call or one of the girls, and we will make arrangements to get them taken care of. So, and there's a lot of boats that come here from Texas and Florida to the Sonars and other boat yards. Sonars has been very gracious to let people stay at their boat yard, and it's just right down the canal from where the tournament's held. So we can make arrangements for people to get taken care of.
And all your contact information is on your website.
That's correct.
So, and I've already put a link to that for everybody to see. So if anybody has any questions or wants to sponsor it, reach out to Mr. Johnny or Miss Kate. It's all up on the website because I was just looking.
There you go. Great.
I wanted to make sure it was up there before I said something.
Yeah. And one thing about our tournament is, our entry fee is divided straight half and half between release and kill fish. So that way we try to coordinate and communicate. If somebody catches a fish and it's a harvested fish, then we try to get that information out because people are scattered out 150 miles in the Gulf. Now everybody's got sat phones and everybody checks in. And we put the same money in each side to promote. Otherwise, if somebody's got a fish there and there's 115, 120 inch fish killed, and they've got a fish that's 110 inches that would qualify, but they've already released 2 other fish, they know that releasing that fish is going to make them more money than killing that fish. So, and we have been very successful as far as eliminating. I think maybe one time in our history, we had 4 fish killed. Other than that, it's been 1 to 2 to 3, just due to the fact that we communicate well and they realize that there's just as much money in release as there is in harvesting the fish.
Mr. Johnny, you brought up a really good point there. Over the years, and I'm going to maybe over the past 5-10 years, what is your percentage of released fish to harvested fish in the tournament?
10 to 1. 10 to
10
1.
to 1. At least. So you're talking about a 90% release rate.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Which is phenomenal. And in today's world of, I'm going to use air quotes on this, is a modified release tournament, which has been the new term that people have been using.
Correct.
Where there's enough incentive to release fish and not just harvest all of them, like you said at the beginning. And we're starting to see release rates in the 90s, 95. Some tournaments, some years have 97 or 98% release rates. So, and a lot of that has to do with, just like what you said, whether it's point structure or money structure, to incentivize people. You know what? It's not, even though I could win something, I could probably win more if I just release this fish.
I think
that's right. And we're one of the few tournaments, and you'll appreciate this. I mean, and listen, I'm not talking about any tournament directors thing. I'm just saying people that fish and put on tournaments know what the fishermen want. And you're never going to make every fisherman, every captain, every owner happy, but you've got to try. I mean, they're your customers. These people are coming here.
Yep.
And, if they have a problem, come see me. I'm going to be the first one. I'm going to try to eliminate that problem best I can. And if I can't eliminate it, I'm going to try to tell them why I can't eliminate that problem. So, some tournaments you go to, you just don't get that warm and fuzzy feeling. If somebody comes and fishes our tournament, I want them to have that feeling that they're the most important person there, and they are. So I think that brings a lot of success to them. Some of these facilities like Chubb, where they own their own facility and putting their tournaments on, and you're coming to do it. Well, they can control everything they're doing. We can only control the tournament. We can't control the marina, the facilities, and that kind of stuff. Now, we've got a great partnership with the War, and we had a long-time partnership with the Orange Beach Marina before then, and both of them were super to us and helped us promote this tournament, because it's also helping them. It's bringing income into their businesses, and they realize that too. But when you got an employee out there, sometimes they're not as courteous to a participant as you would be, or the owner of the facility would be. So in that turn, we try to head those off and try to take care of people and do the best we can to make sure they're having a great experience and want to come back.
And after 25 years, it definitely looks like they're enjoying themselves very much.
Yeah. I mean, we're having this tournament, we used to have it in August, and August is late in the season. And, May used to be a really good month for weather, but the weather's like anything else. It can mess you up anytime. So when we moved it there, now you're in a time in May where you got weddings, you got graduations, you got kids still in school, some getting out of school. So it was a little bit of a challenge with people coming, but why most of the people that have these boats now, they can take off on Wednesday and go fishing.
The one thing I love about what you were saying too, Johnny, and you've obviously talked about it too a little bit, Fly, specifically, I think in that one article that you wrote for Marlin, was the fact that tournaments are adaptable, right? That's the beauty of them. They're not so rigid to where you don't have to, you can adjust the rules at any point to make sure that
they can be adaptable. There's a
Right.
lot of people that don't. And to
Yes.
Mr. Johnny's point, and you're not trying to throw, and I'm not trying to throw ananybody
I was
under
about to
the
say I
bus.
wasn't throwing anybody in.
But no, I didn't say you. But they
Oh,
can
okay.
be adaptable because of the fact, like
Right.
Mr. Johnny said, they're the fishermen and the owners of these boats. They are the customer. So, and I have seen some really fun and really good tournaments go away because they did not want to be adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, listen, create what the people want. If this is what they want, and build it to their specifications. And like anything else in life, you have to make yourself adaptable. After
Yeah, you can't be
25 years,
rigid.
after 25 years, I'm sure the OBBC is different than it was 25 years ago. I'm sure it's changed, whether it be rule structure or point structure or something. You have to be able to listen to the fishermen, listen to the owners, and say, okay, this is what they've asked for. And I attribute that to Mr. Johnny's success.
I was about to say, I think it's something. It's a motto that I use a bunch of times. It's adapt or die, basically, right? You, like you were saying, you have to be able to understand, what's happening in the winds, right, and adjust to that. And obviously, Johnny, you guys have done a great job over there, making sure that the parties are fantastic, as well as adjusting whatever you need to do to get people to continue to come over.
Yeah, I mean, I remember back when we first, at one time, we were all tag and release. That went over very well for a couple of years, and then you had the same people winning tag and release 2 or 3 years in a row, and thought they couldn't compete, and they couldn't. I mean, these guys had people coming in and fishing, and in the Gulf, I fought the hook and hand rule forever. Whoever who caught the fish had to hook the fish, and we lost participation because of that. So we adapted and went to the hook and hand rule. And then when we started the video cameras, remember the captain's meeting, I said, okay, we're going to have to video all these fish. The guy goes, well, I didn't hear about that. I said, well, it's been on every email we sent out, and it's been in the back. I said, get your ass in the car and go to CVS, get your damn video recorder. And then even this year we went, we were the first ones to go to polygraph tests in the Gulf. And I got that from the sailfish tournaments down there. I said, how are they doing these sailfish tournaments where you're leaving from Almirada to West Palm Beach? He said, well, everybody just takes polygraph tests. Now, like an old fisherman told me years ago, and I won't mention his name, he said, if you can't pass a polygraph test, you're not a good fisherman. I knew you'd like that fly. You might have heard that before.
Listen, I'm a firm believer in don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Well,
That's
right.
that's rule number one of a fisherman. Don't ever let
I'm just going to say one word before I get back on some of the rule changes. Is Eddie Herbert? You remember Galveston, the Princess Galvez? Okay, we'll leave it there. I'd like to see if he'll send you a comment on that fly.
Oh my God!
Mike Saragusa came down to visit. So anyway, we'll go back to. So we started we had the tagging and then releasing the fish. So we've been through an evolution of it, and it's I want everybody to feel comfortable. Listen, anytime you get into money with people, it changes the way they do things. So we just try to make sure everybody's on an even playing field across the board and give everybody opportunities. I mean, I told them one time I was going to put boundaries on the tournament. They said, that's only because you go 21 knots. I said, yeah, but I used to only go 16. So 21's, I'm getting hauling ass now. So, but, we're letting people go where they want to go and do what they want to do and fish. They know the rules. They know the IGFA rules. And we go by them with the exception of the hand, hook and hand one time. And, things have changed in our generations from when we were young growing up, and the owners and their guests were out there, and they might be 1 for 15, but they had a good time, and they got hollered at for missing fish and what an idiot they were, and don't thumb the line and this, that, and the other. And so we've all been there flying. We know how it goes, but you've got to adapt. to what your customer wants.
Exactly.
Customer wants a hook in hand. You adapt to what the customer wants.
It really is. People don't understand how important that is when you're putting on a tournament or an event, that the customer, if you don't give them what they want, they'll stop showing up.
Correct.
They will stop showing up. And unfortunately, and I don't want to date myself, but I've been around this industry long enough where I've seen some peak, some valley, and sometimes just fizzle out. And because when they're starting to valley, instead of making an adjustment, they just keep doing the same thing. And next thing you know, what was once a 100-boat tournament ends up being a 10 or 12-boat tournament.
Correct.
And I've seen that all over the world. That's not region specific. I've watched that from Hawaii to Japan to the Gulf to the Virgin Islands to everywhere. If you don't adapt and give the people what they want, because listen, if you want to go out on your boat, if you're spending that kind of money, you want to go out and have a good time. And if you're not having a good time, then why do it?
I agree. And the level of competition is demanding that, and what do you do about the sonars? Some people have sonars, some people don't have sonars. Well, it's like a fellow from Louisiana told me one time, I'm not going to mention his name, but he don't talk good English, and he lives south of Highway 90. So he's really from a foreign country. But he said, don't blame me if Viking makes a fast boat. Don't blame me they got sonars. That ain't my fault they made that stuff, but if they got it, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to use it. Don't blame me. I have people on my boat. It's not my fault I can do this.
So, and you bring up a good point, because I get this phone call quite often about the sonars here lately. What's your opinion on sonars? Would you outlaw them? And in my tournaments, and I said, here's the thing. Everybody's able to buy them. Not, maybe you might not have it, but I've talked to plenty of guys that have chased a fish for say an hour or two and miss a good bite because they marked a fish and they chased them around. They wasted some good fishing time chasing a fish.
And then that fish
is gamble in itself.
And that fish is what?
That fish ends up being a turtle.
Oh my gosh. I've seen it where the fish turns out to be a manta ray. Oh, yeah. So you chase around this manta ray for a while, hoping it'll bite, and it ends up being a manta ray. So,
I think it has changed some of the philosophy, though. I don't think especially in the release category of these tournaments, I think the people that don't have sonars, some of them are not going to bet much in it because it is hard to compete with it. But, just because it's hard to compete doesn't mean you can't go get one too. And I think eventually they'll come out with some technology that's more affordable, and it's mainly specifying what a sport fisherman needs instead of a purse seiner. So, everybody's talking that technology will be out before long, and people can so choose to do that. But, you can still catch a big fish without a sonar, I promise you.
Exactly. Now, being that you brought up Southern Louisiana, I want to bring up, I got a couple stories about a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Rene Cross. And
Corn Dog.
What's that?
Corn Dog. That's his nickname.
Corn Dog?
Yeah, they like carnival food over there.
Well, let me tell you something. One of the first times I met Rene Cross, and you notice that we've not thrown any names out on this podcast yet, but when it came to this, we're going to throw his.
Right.
So one of the first times I met Mr. Rene Cross, it was Mr. Johnny and Miss Kate and Mr. Rene and his wife, and we all went out to dinner in Biloxi.
Mary Mahoney's.
Exactly. And I'll never forget this. And Peter, this is quite funny. And I still have another story about Rene. I don't know how old I was at the time. I was like 42 years old, but with Mr. Johnny and Mr. Rene at the table, it was myself. I think we had Lucas, Jamie, Pugsley.
Okay.
So we've got a bunch of 40-year-old guys sitting at the table, but we were like at the kids' table. It's like whatever Mr. Johnny and Mr. Rene said, we did. And it's one of those things. I really enjoyed it because, being in the mid 40s, there's not very many times that you're looked at as a kid. But when we sat down at that table, we were at the kids' table, but we had a ball.
Yeah.
So next time you talk to Mr. Renee, last year he calls me up. I want to say it was like June 30th, June 28th. It was right before the World Cup. He's calling me up to ask me something about the World Cup or the Golf Cup. And I call the number back, and I didn't realize it was his office number. And his assistant picks up the phone, and she says, I said, is Mr. Cross available? She says, no, he stepped out of the office. Would you like to leave a message? And I said, absolutely. And she says, well, may I ask your name? I says, my name is Fly. And she goes, what? I says, my name is Fly. You can spell it Fly. And she goes, and what's your message for Mr. Cross? And I says, you just tell Mr. Cross that I still love him. And she goes, excuse me? I says, just let him know Fly called him and that I still love him. And if you could put a couple of them little X's and O's and a couple of hearts on there, I'd really appreciate it. She's like, I can't do that. And I'm like, trust me, you can do it. Put it on there. Put it on there. Well, the next morning he calls me up. He goes, you son of a bitch. I had to tell her, remember who signs your paychecks. Don't be putting them little hearts on there because he said so. It was so great. It was so great. Let me tell you, that's one of my best parts of the year is going up to the golf and seeing my friends from up there. Because we really do have a good time during the golf fishing season. It's really nice. You have these events that everybody leaves on Thursday, but leading up to those events, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday leading up, it gives everybody an opportunity to get together, see each other, do lunch, do dinner. And especially now after 2020, where a lot of us didn't get a chance to see each other. It's camaraderie. It's really nice to have the camaraderie back again.
Yeah, we started 2 years ago on a Tuesday night having what we call a little cruise party there. And we had some barbecue and had some beer. We moved down to a local place that makes daiquiris down the road at the wharf of their complex. They set up and had a little wiring contest.
I was there.
Yes. Oh, were you there for the knot tying contest?
The knot tying and the wiring contest. I had a couple of them young kids ask me, hey, why don't you get into that wiring contest? I go, because you ain't a blue marlin. Yeah. There's a big difference between me pulling on you and me pulling on a blue marlin. I'll take on a 900-pound blue marlin over a drunk 20-year-old all day long. Hey. I saw some crazy stuff that night.
Well, as long as Eddie doesn't take it out of gear, you'll be all right.
Listen, he's done that once or twice. But then again, I put it into the transom once or twice, so we're even on that one.
There you go.
So I know both you gentlemen got a busy day today, and we're getting ready to jump on a hard stop for both of you. So I don't want to drag this out too long. But first of all, Mr. Johnny, I want to say thank you to you for everything you do for the fishing community. I want to say thank you for what you do to the Billfish Foundation. And I want to say thank you for how you've always treated me when I go up to Orange Beach. I always feel like I'm at home when I'm up there with you and your family. So I really appreciate that. And I love hearing from you, your son, your wife, your daughter-in-law, whenever anybody of the OBBC family calls me up, it's always a good day. It's always a good day.
I appreciate your friendship. And Dominic and his wife's friendship down there. I met her when she was at the Billfish Foundation. We met a lot of good people. Peter, Ellen, Andrew Cox was a great ambassador for the Bill and still is a good ambassador for the fishery. We made a lot of good friends through the years doing it. Had a lot of fun, enjoyed it. The community of Orange Beach is a fantastic community that supports the Billfish Foundation and supports recreational fishing. And, we do this for my children, my grandchildren, their children, to be able to enjoy this sport. But you not only enjoy it, but respect it and do it the right way. You know, let's do it the right way, guys. Let's harvest what we need to feed our family. I mean, I quit freezing fish. I don't freeze any fish anymore. Let that fish go. You know, if you got somebody that you want to feed some fish to, they got freshwater catfish that are outstanding. You can buy them, they harvest them. You know, it's just like, yeah, I hate to see somebody come in there and stack up 20 tuna on the dock. I'm just going, man, most of that stuff's gonna go somewhere in a Ziploc, be ruined. Let's, you know, and it's taken a long time, and it comes with age to use common sense and give back. You know, when you're young, you take. When you get a little bit middle-aged, you still taking, but you're giving back a little bit. And then when you get a little bit older, you start saying, man, it's time to give back all the way. So with that being said, I appreciate you, Fly and Peter, and thank you for having me. The OBBC is going well and strong, and we're looking forward to a great tournament and great participation coming there and good fishing. And I can't thank y'all enough.
Peter, would you like to add anything?
Thank you enough. No, I mean, I and the Billfish Foundation, and I would like to try to speak for at least the sport fish community, cannot thank OBBC, you, the Dorland family, I guess you too, Fly, for basically not only promoting what you said was perfect. That one word is respect, right? I think taking away a lot of this aspect is just coming away with respect for the community, the fish, and the people that are dependent on that. So a lot of the things that we could do to help the industry is based off of that same ideal too. So I can't say thank you enough. The only thing I want to ask one last time, just for anyone else still listening here, is can we get the link one more time, Fly? And then Johnny, could you give the dates one more time?
The dates are the 17th through the 21st of May.
Okay.
And I will post the link one more time so everybody can
Thank you.
have it. And
Johnny, I think I will be seeing you down, or I should say up there with Miss Ellen next month as well.
That sounds great. Remember, 40 proof.
40 proof. Go easy on her. Go easy on her. You guys, gentlemen,
she's the boss, Johnny. She is the boss. So
she can do whatever she wants.
I understand, but at 80 proof, it ain't good at late night.
No. You guys hold on right here. Let me just say goodbye to everybody. Everybody's sitting here watching us live. Thank you so much for your time today. Make sure you set your notifications for whenever we go live on one of our podcasts, the No BS World Tour. Now available on Waypoint Podcast, along with Spotify and iHeartRadio's Pandora, and anywhere you get your podcast. So on that note, you guys hang on right here, and everybody else, thank you very much. See you next time. Maybe if I can find my cursor to shut this thing down. There.